to stop the prophecy. And yet, on the Temple Mount, there's an object that's even more central than that. There's even a more greater obstruction on the Temple Mount. Right there in the center, on the Temple Mount, the holiest place of God, stands an object of defiance, which is called the Dome of the Rock. The Muslims put it up in defiance of the Bible, but it's not about them, it's the enemy who puts up these things. Because as long as it's there, there can be no temple. People trying to get around that. Not going to be temple as long as that's there. On the temple of God, the mount is an object of defiance. And he's tried, the same one who has kept the Jewish people. You have the same war from the beginning to the end. And in Revelation, same thing. And so here now, again, the war goes on, an object right there, an object of literally of defiance that claims the mountain of God again, and that will to stop God's purposes. Interesting thing, Hadrian built the temple to Jupiter on the Temple Mount. Now that temple is gone, but he also built another one in Lebanon, and we can see what the temple of Jupiter would have looked like on the Temple Mount. And the interesting thing is, if you take the ruins of the temple of Jupiter that he built nearby and superimpose them on the Temple Mount, something interesting happens. Now, if you look there on the left, that's the temple of Jupiter that Hadrian built. Now, he also built that on the Temple Mount. If you look in the middle, what matches up with that, if you're looking what's on the middle thing, what's matching up, that square to square, that square at the bottom is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And then if you look at the temple, you have this polygon on the top. Well, you see a polygon there, that's the Dome of the Rock. If you put them together, they match up. In other words, the temple of Jupiter is matching up exactly where they have the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock is on the pattern of the temple of Jupiter. In other words, it's like it may have been built, the Muslims may have may have built it on the ruins and that's what they did a lot. And so it's actually the same form of the temple of Jupiter, which links it together. And if you do the next one, you'll just see another one version of the same thing of that. That's the Temple Mount, but that matches up the same place, same kind of object, following the blueprint of the temple of Jupiter. Interesting thing, so it's like part of the same war that's been going on for 2,000 years. The Temple of Jupiter is another form of the abomination that Antiochus did as well. Interesting thing, because we know that if you go into the Dome of the Rock, you'll find pillars there that are not from the dome, they're from Roman buildings on the temple, which very likely will be from the Temple of Jupiter that the Dome of the Rock is made up of. And the other thing is, actually, if you go to the south side of the temple, and you go to the temple steps, you'll see in the south side of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, you'll see there's a stone in there that actually bears the name of Hadrian because they took it from the Temple of Jupiter. So that's the one that has a name on it, but undoubtedly they built all sorts of things from the Temple of Jupiter. And so it goes back to the war again from the ancient times. And where the verse says, the enemy says, I will have your high places. But I want to show you something now. And if you didn't see a stunning image in a moment, if you didn't see it in the altar of the Dark Angel, this will be the first time, and I'm going to go deeper into it. There's something on the object. Could there be a mark of the war that's going on the actual object from that behind everything, from the altars of Baal to the temple of Zeus or the altar, to all these things? Could there be an object there? On the Dome of the Rock, there is a picture. It's kind of you see a striking picture, and you're going to see a face and a being. Could it be that? I want to put up the image 3. That is the image on the Dome of the Rock. Now, what a satanic image. Now, nobody tried to put that together. That's from the rock. The rock was there. They just put it there. The rock formations, they put it there, and that's the image of there. You can see horns, you can see an eye, you can see a crooked mouth, you can see a nose. Certainly, you don't have to give any interpretation that this looks like a satanic image on the Dome of the Rock, on the Temple Mount. And I want to show you the image 4. You'll see where it appears. That's the Dome of the Rock. There's the image. The image stands on the holiest site in the world. The enemy says, I have your mountain. The name, and herein is the mystery. It all comes together in the prophecies of Isaiah and Ezekiel. Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28 are the prophecies speaking of an ancient king, the king of Babylon and Tyre, but they are double prophecies because they speak of something that no human king could be, but they speak of the principality behind them. They speak of a being who was there in Eden, who fell from heaven. Some of your translations even will say Lucifer in the prophecy. That's where you get the name Lucifer. Isaiah 14, how you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mountain of the congregation. On the farthest sides of the north, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Ezekiel 28 says this, moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation against the king of Tyre. Say to him this, you are the seal of perfection, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. You are in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. Goes on. And it says, you were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created till iniquity was found in you. By abundance of your trade you became filled with violence within, and you sinned. Therefore I cast you as a profane thing out of the mountain of God, and I destroyed, oh, you covering cherub. Your heart became lifted up. I cast you to the ground. Now, why this battle? Now, put it all together. Why this battle over the high places, the mountain of God? It all begins here. In the beginning, he was an angel in God's presence. And then he fell, fallen, twisted. And what does he say? I will ascend. I will go back up. Why the altars of Baal on the high places and the false gods on the high places? Why does the enemy go up to the mountains? Because he said, I will ascend. I will go to the high places. That's why specifically to the Temple Mount. Why? Because it's God's mountain. It says in Ezekiel, the enemy says, I have your high places. It's the place here. In the days of Antiochus, it's desecrated with the altar of Zeus. Why? Because it's the enemy saying, I want that back. The enemy caused the construction of the